Hi guys, it's Miss Savela. This is your first short story you're going to be reading. It's for the sniper, and you're using a online tool called Commonlit. We'll be using Commonlit quite a bit when we don't have the short stories that are available in our textbook. Your textbook looks or should look something like this. Obviously, it doesn't say Teacher's Edition on it, and yours is probably like a flat back and kind of moves because we can actually annotate in those, and we can actually do some writing up in those in particular. I cannot, and you can also tell the writing in it is teeny tiny. So I wish I had your books. You probably wish you had mine because you'd have the answers, but I don't really use the answers from the book. Anyway, we annotate for several reasons, but the primary reason is that when we take notes with the text, we interact with the text. And interacting with the text helps us remember it better. The other thing that helps us remember is using color. So I had people annotate in lots of colors. And if you remember from the syllabus and the scavenger hunt worksheet you were supposed to have 6 types of highlighters, 6 colors of highlighters, which I have right here. And then you are supposed to have 4 colors of pens, which I have right here. Okay, but since we're online, it's harder to use those. So there are some of you who probably want to print it off and do it by hand, and that is completely fine. You can take a picture of it, snap it to me, and send it to me, or you can just do it online, whatever is most comfortable for you. However, this story is not allowed to be downloaded in the PDF. If you see right here, this download PDF, it says, sorry, due to copyright restrictions, this PDF is not available. So that means that we can't download it and give it to you. So what I want you to know is I want you guys to take a look at how this works, okay? So you can change the font size for people whose eyes are a little bit more strained. I don't know who that might apply to. But there are several things here. So we can read aloud, and it'll read the story to us.
The Sniper, by Liam O'Flaherty, 1923. Liam O'Flaherty, 1896 to 1984, was an Irish novelist and short story writer. The Sniper is set during the early weeks of the Irish Civil War.
Okay, so basically you can have it read to you, and you could probably find another copy of it online on Audible. Audible.com is, and I think it's an app as well, reads a lot of things out loud. So anyway, that's another thing you can do. And then as you're looking through it, all of these numbers, they're going to tell you what that word is. A Liffey is a river in Ireland that flows through the center of Dublin. Spasmodically, it means occurring in irregular bursts. Okay, so that's what those mean. And these guys over here, they're going to bring up a question. So let me move myself. It'll say the Republican sniper is, and then you'll have to answer the question. Oh, I was wrong. It says incorrect. Try again. So I'm going to try again. There we go. Oh, I'm incorrect again? Oh my goodness. Now I got it correct. I knew that was the correct answer. I just wanted to show you that you can do it several times if you get incorrect answers. That's fine. I will see on my end that it took you 3 times, but that's not going to make you get it wrong. I'm not going to take off points for that. I would rather you get the question right and not worry about getting it wrong. But you have to keep doing it until you get the question. So for your annotation tools, what you're going to do is you're going to highlight. So one of the things I told you to do was to highlight the setting in green. So what you want to do is anything that is setting will be in green. So the long June twilight. So we've got June twilight. Okay. So you see how it shows this pen over here? We want to change the coloring to green, and now it is highlighted in green. Okay, so the other thing is I want you to take a couple of notes, like we also have into night, right? So that tells us that it takes place at night, and Dublin. And so what we can do is put a note over here. Highlight that, and you see this little text box, this T? That means to put a text box here. So we can say setting is June, twilight is right before it gets dark outside, and it is nighttime in Dublin. And we know that Dublin is in Ireland. So there we go. Fun. Okay, so now we continue. In darkness, but for the dim light of the moon that shone through fleecy clouds, casting a pale light as of approaching dawn over the streets and the dark water of Liffey. All right, so what did Liffey mean? It means a river in Ireland that flows through the center of Dublin. So this gives us another clue. We're going to put down, and we are also going to take a note over it. On the riverfront, the river Liffey. And around the beleaguered four cohorts, the heavy guns roared. Here and there through this, okay, so the heavy guns roared. Okay, so what does that tell us? Oh, I want that to be a different color. I want that to be green. So I'm going to change it to green. What does that tell us about the time period or what's going on? It tells us that infer from the guns that there is a war. Okay? And here and there through the city, machine guns and rifles broke the silence of the night spasmodically, like dogs barking on lone farms. Republicans and Free Staters were waging civil war. Okay, so we've got through the city. Okay, so we also know that it's in the city. And we also know that the Republicans and Free Staters are at war, and we're going to highlight that in green. And, well, meant to be green. And there's a civil war, which definitely tells us something about setting. So as you go through, and I know some of you already did this assignment, you probably didn't catch all of that. That's okay. This is our first time annotating. That's why I'm going through this with you now. Because all of these things help us infer things. So I still want to take a note here. I want to change that. Actually, I want to change that color to the right color it's supposed to be. It's driving me crazy. Okay, and I want to take a note on it. Here we go. So this is two oppositions, which means it is a civil war, and a civil war means Ireland's men against themselves. Okay, so it's not another country, and that's important to know. And right here we've got through the city. Need a note. It is not in the country. It is full of people, and this is dangerous, right? Because the cities were full of people. So before we even go on, if we look at this, we have several notes that we can take place here that I've taken. And so we know that it's June. We know that it's right before it gets really dark out, that purplish time. We know that it's outside. We know that it's in Dublin, Ireland. We know that it's on the waterfront in the city. And we know that there's a civil war between all of the men of Ireland, one side against others. So just knowing that, what would be a really good note that we could say, we could stop and react and think about that. We can just say right here at the end, what can we say about this story, what we think the story is going to be about? Well, obviously, we've got the oops, I don't know what just happened there. We've got, there is tension. There is, oops, there is a war going on. It takes place at any time, but probably a while ago when the Ireland Republic was in full force. And probably what we have in store for us is a story about war. And that's what you do. That's what you do to annotate, and you'll do that throughout the whole thing. So you will take notes throughout the whole thing. You will also look up these vocabulary words, and you will answer all of these questions. Then it'll ask you some assessment questions. And the assessment questions are going to ask, let me move myself again over here. The assessment questions are going to ask you at the end, like, what was the story about? And then it'll ask you discussion questions, and those discussion questions, you basically have to write a short constructed response, and I will be grading that. So when you're done with all of that, you'll end up with a grade. Now, I know some of you have already done this, and so that stuff is, you've already handed that in. I will release it back to you after I grade your short answers, and then you can go back and you can highlight some of the other stuff. Now on Monday, we're going to go over some of the other annotations you need to include, and we're going to probably divide you up into small, tiny groups, and you're going to be in charge of annotating certain things, and we're going to go through it together and see how much stuff this short little story has packed in it that we might have missed when we first read over it. Because when we first read, especially at our age, you're just trying to read the story, get through it. You're not reading it with a critical eye where you're really kind of thinking about what this could be and what things could mean, and what all of these different things, how they play together. And that's really important. We need to do it in short stories so that we can do it in longer stories, and we can do it in novels. So that's annotating, and we do it like crazy in my class, and anyone who's ever had me, you can ask, they will say you will go through a ton of highlighters and a ton of color pens, because it is important that you interact with your text. Okay, so that is what you are doing for Monday, is reading the story and annotating. If you have questions, hit me up.